Hello, BookTube. Well, as I mentioned in that earlier video, actually, I shouldn't mention the earlier video because I'm not sure that it will upload. I had to make it on a different computer, so it might not. I'll give it a try. I'll be elated if it does. But as I mentioned in that video, my day ganged up on me fairly early and has not stopped. So I don't have time for 5 videos, I'm afraid. Not that you have time to watch them either. You should view this as a vacation. But I thought at least we'd do the last mail haul of the week. Because if you were watching, if I managed to upload that earlier video, you saw that in the middle I got the doorbell of fate, and I had to pop up and go. But there were a few books and a box, so we'll take a look at these, and this will wrap it up for our mail for this week. So what have we got here? First one's a paperback. Yes. Oh, okay. This is, I believe, a debut novel. Comes out in February. This is The Made-Up Man by Joseph Scapalato, who is a young thing. He is a young thing. He earned his MFA in New Mexico State University. In addition to story collection Big Lonesome, he has published work in Kenyon Review Online, Gulf Coast, Unsaid, and others. He grew up in Chicago, and he teaches at Bucknell University. And this, I think, is his debut novel. Yeah. Stanley can take it. He can ignore the hijinks, resist being drafted into... Combining essential noir and absurd comedy, the genre-bending novel is by turns harrowing and laugh-out-loud funny. It follows Stanley, a young man from Chicago, to Prague, where he takes part in a potentially dangerous performance art project orchestrated by his exploitive uncle Lech. Stanley can take it. He can ignore the hijinks, resist being drafted into Lech's evolving, darkening script. As the operation unfolds, it becomes clear there's more to this performance than he expected. Lech's band of collaborators know more about Stanley's state of mind than he knows himself. He may be able to step over chalk outlines in the hallway, may be able to turn away from the women acting as his mother and the men performing as his father, but when a man made up to look like Stanley begins to play out his most devastating memory, he won't be able to stand outside this imitation of his life any longer. So it's his life made into an installation art. That's kind of clever. Okay, so that comes out in February. We'll see what we get to that next year. Let's do this next one. What have we got here? Okay, this is not known to me. This is by H.M. Naqvi, and it is the selected works of Abdullah the Cossack. H.M. Naqvi's first novel, Homeboy, won the inaugural DSC Prize for South Asian Literature and launched him onto the literary scene. In that novel, he captured a pre- and post-9/11 New York through the eyes of Pakistani immigrants and masterfully distilled the emotional cadence shift they experienced from before to after. This time, Naqvi has seized on a different city, the shape-shifting metropolis of Karachi, and the perspective of its most reverent citizens. For many years, Abdullah has tried to compile a mythopoetic legacy of his beloved city, the cosmopolitan heart of Pakistan. Then, on the morning of his 70th birthday, he considers jumping from his balcony to certain death. He has suddenly lost his vital spark. A surprise invitation for a night out with his old friend Felix Pinto brings Abdullah back to reason and saddles him with Ward, Pinto's adolescent grandson Bosco. As Abdullah plays mentor to Bosco, he also attracts the romantic attention of Jungu, the enigmatic siren with links to the mob. All the while, his brothers plot to evict him from the family estate. Abdullah must save his home or lose his ties to his own vibrant history. This septuagenarian narrator holds absolutely nothing back and includes plenty of footnotes, ensuring that every last factoid, aside, and amendment makes it into his story. Though, through his absurdly wonderful protagonist, Naqvi's language shines and proves that, as John Freeman says, this rare ability to create a vernacular sonic boom puts him in the company of Salman Rushdie, Peter Carey, Zadie Smith, and Chimamanda Adichie. Okay, all right. So this is the publishing sheet describes this as a nonstop joyride in the cosmopolitan heart of Pakistan. Several elements of that don't seem believable. So we shall see. This comes out in March, so I have a good long time before I experience it. Well, let's see. Let's just move on here. There's another paperback here. Voila. Oh. Okay. Okay, this is the finished copy? Yes, this is the finished copy in paperback of David Shields' new book, Nobody Hates Trump More Than Trump, which I read. And I thought it was remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. It will, as cliche as it sounds, it will haunt you. It is a haunting book. And the pub sheet is entirely an interview of some kind? Yes, there's nothing in the pub sheet. But then again, you don't really need it. Nobody Hates Trump More Than Trump is perhaps the only genuinely original thing you have yet read about Donald Trump. It can be read in a variety of ways, as a psychological investigation of Trump, as a philosophical meditation on the relationship between language and power, as a satirical compilation of the collected wit and wisdom of Donald Trump, and above all, as a dagger into the rhetoric of American political discourse. Boy, none of those do it justice. All of those sell it short. A dissection of the politesse that gave rise to and sustains Trump. The book's central thesis is that we have met the enemy and he is us. Okay, yeah, that is accurate, and that is not true. There are parts of this book that are not true, starting, of course, with the title. Trump loves himself. He doesn't hate himself. There's no part of him that does. That is a liberal dream. The liberal dream is that such an obvious and self-evident monster must hate himself. But that's not true. He doesn't hate himself. He loves himself. He's the only person he loves. But that bit, we have met the enemy and he is us, is also that is sort of implied in a few places in this book, and that also is not true. I reject that completely. Donald Trump is a horrible, evil, venal cockroach crawling across the carpet of decent humanity, and he always has been. You can see YouTube footage of him when he was just a corrupt landlord in front of housing boards, where the housing board members who in Brooklyn and Queens and Flatbush have seen it all. They have seen every kind of human depredation. And you can see the looks on their face that they don't even know what this guy is. They don't even want to be in the same room with him. That has always been true. It's not we have met the enemy and he is us. We are all kinds of things, including lots of good things. He's just a bad person. That's all. It's not we have met the enemy and there's a little of him in all of us. No. No. But some of the insights in here are amazing. Another one of the claims that I take issue with is that bit about that you've never read anything original about Trump like this. That's not true, and it sells short the most important original stuff about Trump that you read if you want to every day, which is the incredibly energetic reporting that's being done by half a dozen different venues. People that are forcing, ferreting, seeking, finding little pieces here and there of a life this man has worked hard to hide from public view, in order to pull those pieces together into something like a tapestry of what we would get from any other person who had run for president. We would see that tapestry. Instead, we've had to rely on reporters to pull it together, and some of that work is incredible. So, but still, I'm concentrating on all the things this doesn't do, but it actually does a lot really well. This is, of course, when he wants to be, this is a brilliant writer, and this is an amazingly memorable book. There are chunks of it. There are rhetorical flights in here that I think are incredibly daring, and they work, and they don't have to. They could have failed. So, I don't know. I can't really recommend that you read a Trump book. I have to read these things, but I think your reading time could be better spent. But nevertheless, if you're insistent, you should try it. But anyway, that brings us to the box, and then we'll be done. What is this next one? Finished copy of something. You're going to get some cardboard in your diet, little bean? Ooh, let me get the pub sheet out of here so you don't destroy that. Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. This is a finished copy of something that I don't think I still have the advance copy for. I think I got rid of it. Fantastic. Okay, this has got to be soon. Yeah, this is early November. This is this is Robert Kershaw, and this is Landing on the Edge of Eternity. This is the finished copy of his book about Omaha Beach, about the storming of Omaha Beach, as you can see. And it's a very I've read it already. I read the advance copy. It's tremendously good. It's a very close focus, minute by minute recreation of the experience of going through this. And like with the best of such recreations, it's better than any of the single first-person narratives that it draws on so heavily, because the individuals making those first-person narratives were concerned about getting a bullet through the head. So it's, in this case, a historian who's this careful and has this much of a sense of what's at stake and what's dramatic and what's not can actually put together a better composite work than any of the individual accounts can do. I've known people who stormed the beaches of Normandy, and they don't remember the wide scale at all. And really, would you? Look at that. You can't really make it out in this picture, but that beach is covered in dead bodies, and it's dead people that all of these men knew. It's just a constant barrage of artillery coming straight at them as they go onto this beach. That you're not going to remember the wide picture. You're not going to be paying attention to anything except your own breathing and keeping your head down. Kershaw knows that and just creates an amazing book out of it. 2018 has not been a particularly standout year for World War II. One of my favorite things to read. This is one of the best World War II books of the year, coming a little late in the game. So if you have a World War II library of any size and you're wondering what you should add to it, give this a try. You know, borrow it from your library if you want, but give it a try. I bet you'll want to keep it. I loved it, and I'm glad to have a finished copy because I will gladly read it again. Okay, fantastic. All right, so that comes out in early November, and that wraps up this mail haul. Again, a kind of a weird mail haul. So we have Landing on the Edge of Eternity. The callback here, and the title is, of course, From Here to Eternity. World War II epic that I don't think people... do people watch From Here to Eternity anymore? Does anybody read it? Does anybody read Jim Jones anymore? I don't know if they do. But anyway, we've got this. Then we've got the finished copy in paperback of Nobody Hates Trump More Than Trump in bright orange. Then we have the selected works of Abdullah the Cossack and The Made-Up Man, debut novel by Joseph Scapolato. So we've got some fiction, some history, and one bright orange book that is right in the middle of fiction and history. It's kind of uncanny, unplanned, I assure you. And that's it. That is our book haul for today. So I will wrap this up, but I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.